everybody, I'm Bree the Plant Lady, checking in with a weekly garden tour. Now, as you can see behind me, I've been busy today getting this foundation tropical summer border ripped out and replanted. I've hit an impasse. I cannot make a decision about what seeds to put in this bed. So I decided I needed to drink a beer, take a break, walk away from it, and let's go on a tour to see how the garden looks. Here we are on the last Sunday of November. Well, starting here, I will be posting a video of my how-to process, but I'm feeling good about the progress I've made. I do have my mulch waiting for me. I'm gonna be mulching about the first 3 foot in all around this bed, and then the center section, at least my plan right now, is to make that all poppies. Remember, work hard, or work smart, not hard. Bring your mulch to you, that way you're not doing double work. I still have not gotten the wave replanted, and I'll probably not get that done until I get home from my last business trip of the year. I am headed to St. Louis on Tuesday. So when I get home, I'll be able to tackle the wave and get it replanted. You may be wondering what these onions and garlic are doing here. These are all things that I missed harvesting last spring, and they started growing. These are gonna get replanted in this bed edge to help prevent the animal browse. Onions and garlic are super, super helpful for deterring above ground animals like rabbits and groundhogs, but also in ground animals like voles. I'd say the prettiest part of the front border is still because of these awesome Itea from First Editions. The color is just so remarkable. And I really do love it with the Everest Carex. This is a whole, Everillo corner. And they are so pretty. And look at that snowy bell. I am so impressed with the strawberry. I just can't say enough about it. So this is definitely a time of year to celebrate decay. This is a border I probably won't deal with for a few weeks, but I'll just come in and mow all these chrysanthemums down with the push mower. I am enjoying these dark berries on the Calicarpa acuminata. And I do love these buds on this Stewartia monodelpha. Another plant that I love this season, it isn't quite changing color yet, but it will in the coming weeks, is this Viburnum bituense. And I'm seeing some seeds, which hopefully it won't become a seeding problem. This is, of course, an Asian viburnum. Remember, when I started this garden, I specialized in Asian native trees and shrubs, so don't judge me. The next door property is going to be full of native plants. My palette continues to evolve. We're all works in progress. Of course, these are all different Calicarpa. I do love this Calicarpa americana alba because it really persists. The berries don't dry up as quickly as like the Americana Welch's Pink. Of course, Welch's Pink is the first to berry, so I'm not dissing it at all because this actually starts giving that interest like as early as August. So I just think you should grow one of everything. A collector's garden, sweeps of one. A plant I don't give enough attention to is this awesome oak leaf hydrangea. This is a variety out of the First Editions plant line. I don't remember the cultivar name. I need to look it up. This is definitely a good time of year to see what's self-sowing. And I see lots of nigella in here. That's that. There's some larkspur right there. Here is lunaria or money plant. So there's a lot of stuff happening in this bed. This is one of my most difficult borders. It's so incredibly dry. And I've been trying to fill it up with perennials, but not with a lot of success. So I'm glad to see all these self-sowing annuals filling up and making it so that this isn't a bed full of weeds. Obviously, frost hit And this south-facing border doesn't look as good as it did a week ago. And I'll get to this, you know, once I get home from this trip to St. Louis, I actually have like the rest of December with no travel. And I'm gonna really get to enjoy just playing outside in the garden and not feeling time pressure. But this is definitely the time of year where, you know, I feel like, okay, the days are really short. There's not enough daylight at this time of year for me. And I don't love seeing the garden like this. I know it's a part of the cycle, but it's like my morale is low at this time of year. I am anxious to get this arch cleaned up because as pretty as it was, it's super ugly now. But it reveals the old light fixture from the house next door. So I thought was kind of a cute surprise to have in here. You couldn't see it at all when the sweet potato vine was in its full glory, but you can see it now at this season. And I'll get this replanted with sweet peas. And it's about time for me to harvest these persimmons. Looks like I've got 5, 6, 7, 8, about 10. So I'm pretty stoked about that. That'll be the first persimmon harvest from this tree. I think it's been planted about 3 years. I haven't done anything in these borders, so it doesn't look any different than last week. The deer continue to eat. I really do need to get some stuff planted to help prevent that. I'm anxious to get these areas cleaned up, but it'll happen. I know it will. Every year I stress myself out for no reason. I do function better with time pressure. But I want to show you the reality of what a primarily annuals garden looks like after frost and before I get the cool season annuals inserted in, because it's not that pretty. And you know, for as beautiful as it is, it comes crashing down and then you have to replant it. There is a lot of self-sowing in here. This is predominantly Nigella. There's also some carrots. See, this is kale that I planted a few months ago that's doing really well. I've been harvesting quite a bit of kale just to eat, but it grows so fast. This is just red Russian. Some daikon radish that are all self-sown back there. And if you're not familiar with daikon radish, you should try growing it. It's awesome. And this is the root that it creates. You can see why it's called the soil buster. And that goes way deep into the ground. I'm not going to pull this one out because I'm planning on eating it later this week, and it saves better outside than in the fridge. But you can see that deer have been nibbling the foliage. So, important thing to note. Of course, the Edgeworthia is a very anticlimactic fall show. All those leaves will fall off and then you'll see all the buds. Those buds will start flowering sometime in January and February. What I'm most impressed by is how quickly the Seminole pumpkin foliage is just disappearing. I think cleanup is actually going to be pretty easy. It's just shriveled to nothing, revealing all the plants that it's been covering for the last few months. And I wanted to show you an update on that cardamom, which I was calling ginger. I guess it is a ginger relative. So this is a really protected area. Like you can see here, that banana that I planted very similarly, just like plopped it on the ground and put soil around it. The banana got nipped. It's totally hardy. It'll be totally fine. The cardamom is actually doing really well. There's only a little bit of it got nipped by frost. This is a really protected area. So if it has any chance of overwintering outside, I think this is the spot. I just can't resist the color of that metasequoia. It's so beautiful. Of course, that's another deciduous conifer. And the camellias are just starting. I think this is irrational exuberance. And it has lots of different flower forms on it. This is a great one from Bobby Green. I need to treat it for scale because it has a lot of scale. Let me show you that. That is camellia scale or tea scale. and you treat it with dormant oil. You just spray the leaves that are infected. You can see it scale from that yellow, that discoloring of the leaf. And when you flip it over, you actually see the insect itself. So when you're treating a camellia with scale, you want to like position your sprayer to be up underneath so that you're actually coating the underside of the foliage. You can coat the top side, but that's not going to do anything to actually kill the scale. So that's on my to-do list. But here's a really pretty camellia that I lost the label for and I don't remember the name of. And I need to text my former boss and get an ID on it because it's so pretty. I've been comparing pictures and we were way ahead last year with camellias flowering. You see there's lots of buds and these will be open soon, but clearly a year ago our weather was different and I had so many camellias flowering already and I don't have very many in bloom yet, other than the ones that you would expect. The sasanquas and the sinensis, the tea plant, which is here, still blooming, frost nipped. And then here's a great one. This is Camellia sasanqua contorta. You see it's got that really cool kind of contorted foliage. And then below that is a hybrid that is named for me. This is Camellia brie. Everybody has been saying it. This is like one of the best years for fall color. The Japanese maples still look great. And soon I'll be trimming these Golden Rider Leylands way back. I use these in like holiday displays. I, mix them with other greens and magnolias. Had my first day at the Magnolia Workshop yesterday and it was so much fun. If you're not familiar, you should check out westonfarms.com. She sells the most incredible holiday decorations, all grown locally here in Garner, North Carolina. I've had a ton of people ask questions about a Schultzia, a California poppy, and I promise I am going to do a video about that, but it'll probably be next week. And again, still no broccoli ready to be harvested. My goal of having broccoli for Thanksgiving did not come to fruition. So now I'm hoping that I'll have broccoli for, upcoming holiday celebrations. All of this broccoli, also not heading yet. And that zucchini finally got nipped by the frost, which, I mean, it's high time it did, but it was pretty cool to have a zucchini growing that late into November. Believe it or not, there are still delicious raspberries on this plant. I can't believe it. I didn't even realize how much I liked raspberries until I started having the opportunity to come out here and eat them. Whew, this tour is making me feel a little bit overwhelmed by all that I still have to do. I'm just gonna take it in stride. The tomato trail is ready to be deassembled. These bananas, what I'll do is just cut the leaves off. I'll leave the stalks and then I will pile ground leaves that we gather up with the lawnmower. Obviously the arugula is in its prime season and I will be eating arugula again tonight for dinner. And all of the containers in the fire pit continue to look great. This is exactly what my aim for winter interest is. It doesn't necessarily have to be flowering, but I do want to see green because there's a lot of brown at this season. And so the green of the barley and the pots is just brings me a lot of joy. I'm never going to be able to shake my Midwest roots where, winter was a really depressing time. It's cold and dark, and it's not necessarily that way in North Carolina, but 20 years here and I still dread winter. Of course, these plantings do bring me a great deal of joy and remind me that I live in a really wonderful climate. Ms. America is doing great, except for in a couple of areas. And it hasn't really recovered over there, which is disappointing. It's doing everything I dreamed of in this space. So you win some, you lose some. I did cut down the Brugmansia. I posted a video about that. You see, this is what I'll do to the bananas as well. Just pile ground up leaves on it. And soon I'll be mowing back all this phlox. Same thing over here. I'll be mowing this bed down. And if I have leftover seed, I'll do some direct seeding in here. Otherwise, I'll probably just mulch it for the season and let it be. Another little spot in the garden that I really appreciate in the winter is this variegated combo of alstroemeria and carex. I was just about to say I'm impatiently waiting for the winter sweet, but then I realized it's blooming. Look at that, it's so fragrant. I've just written 2 articles about winter sweet that'll be getting published sometime soon. And though this isn't the most beautiful variety, this is seed grown, so it doesn't have the best yellow flowers. It's more like a dirty white. The fragrance is unmatched. It's fantastic. Now, usually the foliage falls off before it starts to bloom. But is there any usual now? You know, I don't think there is any usual anymore. You can see it's a big plant. It's wild and crazy. It's not meant to be sheared into a meatball. So plant it somewhere where it can just grow. It doesn't bother you whether it's, you know, out of bounds or not. I planted this as a 1-quart, 1-year-old seedling in 2010. And here we are. I'm sorry, 2011. And here we are 10 years later, and it's like, what, 20 foot tall? It's a wonderful property border that I don't do any pruning on whatsoever. It's as low maintenance can be. And it's got awesome fragrant flowers. And so many more to come. But you can see, it's quite a few. Now, if you follow my videos, you probably recall in the summer, this is a butterfly magnet. This is Hydrangea paniculata green spire. And I love it now because of the dried flowers just as much as I do when it's in full bloom and it's covered in monarchs and swallowtails. So again, good reason to grow it. It's a fabulous plant. Wow, look at that fall color. So this is actually a maple from Taiwan. I think that it's Acer oliverianum. I'm probably saying it wrong. It grows really fast. And you can see out here in the exposed areas, it's dropped most of its leaves. But here where it's covered from the live oak, it's still holding on to the foliage. And isn't that such a beautiful orange yellow? And in the background of that is a seedling Japanese maple, that red. And then below that is the beige lindera that will hold that foliage for the rest of the season. And Cubby wanted to come say hi to everybody. He's such a good sport. Well, I hope you've enjoyed today's garden tour. It's the last Sunday of November. I can't believe how quickly 2021 has passed. And I look forward to giving you more updates next week. Hopefully I will have made even more progress on the winter season transition. Have a great week, everybody. All right, I mostly just wanted to show you guys the sunset, but I've also had my aha moment. And what I've decided I'm gonna do is all poppies in the front foundation border. So I'll have the ring of daffodils, and then behind that, it will be a solid monoculture of Papaver somniferum. And then in the wave, I'm going to do a mix of barley and poppies. And on the other side of the fence, on the property border, I'm going to do a combo of wheat and actually, I guess, whatever other seed I have left over at that stage. So I'm feeling really good about how the direction that this bed is going to go in. I think it's going to be high impact, especially during my spring open garden, which is set for Saturday, May 7th from noon to 4 p.m. And I'll be putting information on my website as it gets closer to time, but go ahead and save the date for May 7th. You'll be able to see what all of this effort that I put into the garden ends up looking like, which is truly spectacular when it's in full bloom.